and welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. Our big focus tonight, former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan joined Congress leader Rahul Gandhi for his Bharat Jodo Yatra in Rajasthan today, and it's led to a huge political attack by the BJP, which has called Mr. Rajan's commentary on the economy coloured and opportunistic. Now, in the past, Mr. Rajan has been outspoken on many issues. He's criticised the Modi government's handling of the economy while highlighting majoritarianism and the dangers it poses. The controversy has also brought into focus a debate on whether economists should take political sides. But first, Rahul Gandhi has tweeted a video of his conversation with Rajan today, which he says focused on crypto, stocks and unlocking India's full potential.
जो किसान हैं, गरीब लोग हैं, उनका एक हिंदुस्तान बन रहा है और फिर ये 5, 6, 10, 15 लोग हैं जिनका दूसरा हिंदुस्तान बन रहा है।
जो बीच में है, ये लोअर मिडिल क्लास जो है, उनको काफी नुकसान हुआ। नौकरी तो बंद हो गई, बेरोजगारी बढ़ रही है, कर्ज बढ़ रही है, वो कर्ज ले रहे हैं, ब्याज दर अभी बढ़ रही है। रिगार्डलेस ऑफ व्हाट पॉलिटिकल पार्टी और इट हैज टू बी, भारत को जोड़ना है।
बिल्कुल।
Which house can stand when the brothers are fighting? You have to have internal harmony to have external security.
Well, joining us on the program tonight, we've got Yogendra Yadav, a political activist who's also been part of the Bharat Jodo Yatra, Manickam Tagore, Member of Parliament and spokesperson of the Congress, Mr. Ranbir Pathania, spokesperson of the BJP, and Mr. Ratan Sharda of the RSS. Thank you all very much for being with us. Yogendra Yadav, just wanted to throw this question at you. What do you make over the sort of controversy that Mr. Rajan's joining the Bharat Jodo Yatra has created today? It's been a very strong attack by the BJP.
Nidhi, to be absolutely honest, I don't know what the controversy is about. Would you not want politicians to interact with economists? I mean, doesn't the entire country, including the two panelists sitting here for RSS and BJP, do they not secretly wish that Mr. Modi had consulted some economist of some standing before going for demonetization? I'm actually astonished about this. And this is not the first time someone with knowledge has come to this yatra. Please do remember that when the day yatra began, Ganesh Devi, one of the best minds of languages in this country, joined the yatra. We had Justice Kolse Patil, we have had Admiral Ramdas, we have had Prashant Bhushan, we have had some of the best musicians, we have had T.M. Krishna, we have had Prahlad Tipania. I mean, the list is long. What is the controversy about? I honestly fail to understand. Or is it that the BJP is just rattled that someone with such high standing has actually come to support the yatra? What exactly is the controversy?
So let me ask the BJP spokesperson that, Mr. Pathania, why has it rankled the BJP so much today that Mr. Rajan has joined this yatra?
Not at all, Nidhi, not at all rattled Bharatiya Janata Party. I'll like to correct your statement on record. Bharatiya Janata Party, given its ideological clarity, given its moorings for we the people of India, I can very safely say that we are a party of the people, by the people and for the people. And given the histrionics, the gimmickry and the photo ops given by the Congress in the Bharat Jodo Yatra, Congress is a party of the Gandhis, for the Gandhis and by the Gandhis. This is a desperate effort by the Rahul Gandhi and the Gandhi family just to salvage the leftover, the image of...
But why are you so upset about Mr. Rajan marching in the yatra?
You see, the point remains that anybody can join the yatra, anybody cannot join the yatra. This is an independent affair. We are not particular about it. But the way the Congress has tried to sell the presence of Mr. Raghuram Rajan, Mr. C. Raghuram Rajan in the Bharat Jodo Yatra, that's why we have been very much critical about it. There's nothing about if a top economist of a country joins the Congress bandwagon of criticizing the country on each and every, that's no problem. But if Congress wants to cash it in another way, that the entire economic system
has been... But the attack has been on Mr. Rajan. He has been called opportunistic. His credibility is being called into question. His professionalism is being called into question for this. So it's not just an attack on the Congress. It's an attack on Mr. Rajan for taking this position.
If Mr. Rangarajan has tried to make certain out of context, out of vogue and totally unjustified remarks, then naturally his credibility has to be taken into consideration. The merits of his remarks, the merits of his standpoints need to be reviewed on a value judgment basis. So this is the only point. We don't have anything against Mr. Rangarajan. We don't have anything against the organizers of Bharat Jodo Yatra. They can join anybody. But my point is, this is an agenda-less, issue-less, purpose-less Congress trying to salvage its lost image. But the point is that Congress should. There was one Congress which produced stalwarts like Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, Bal Gangadhar Tilak. But now this is Congress, which is just we could say a sinking ship.
I don't know why the BJP gives it so much importance. Then, if that's what you think of it, Yogendra Yadav has a response before I come to Mr. Manickam Tagore and Mr. Sharda. Yes, Mr. Yadav.
This is agendaless. This is a pointless yatra. Why is the BJP so concerned about it? And incidentally, his name is Mr. Raghuram Rajan, not Mr. C. Rangarajan. He was earlier you're confusing two persons. He was also a very eminent economist. I'm very glad that you recognize that Mr. Raghuram Rajan is an eminent economist. Someone who actually was an eminent economist before he became RBI governor. But after becoming RBI governor, one thing that he showed this country was that an RBI governor could take a stand, which was pro-public. Here was a governor. I mean, I'm no economist, but this is just based on public information. A governor who refused to yield to blackmailing by people with big money, big pockets. A governor who refused to yield to bad practices. So if that kind of a person comes and joins the yatra, what exactly is the problem? Should the Congress kept it confidential? Should it be secret? Incidentally, none of the meetings has been secret. Prashant Bhushan came, that was no secret. Admiral Ramdas came, no secret.
Well, none
Justice
of that has evoked
Patil,
quite
many
the
other
reaction.
judges.
None of that has actually evoked quite the reaction that Mr. Rajan has evoked today. But Mr. Ratan Sharda, I'm just reading out a tweet that Mr. Chidambaram has just put out, asking why is the BJP outraged by Mr. Rahul Gandhi having a conversation with Dr. Raghuram Rajan? He says it's because the Prime Minister does not meet economists and economists have no access to the Prime Minister. How do you look at that comment by the former Finance Minister?
Well, first of all, a very eminent person like Yogendra trying to read my mind for me is very unfortunate. He doesn't know what I'm going to speak and he says this is what RSS person is going to speak. So let us be reasonable. We are also rational people, not just left. Coming to the main point, see what kind of, I was just as a political observer, though he has, Rahul Gandhi has unnecessarily been bashing RSS, leave that aside. What is the central message that Rahul Gandhi is trying to give through this yatra? That is a big question mark, because he goes to Maharashtra, abuses Savarkar. He goes to Gujarat, brings in Meda Patkar, who is like a red rag to the bulls in Narmada Andolan. And then he brings in Raghuram Rajan, whose every prediction, dire prediction about Indian economy proved to be wrong. I have no problem at all, anybody meeting anybody. I have not seen my one tweet across social media whether I have criticized Rahul Gandhi for any of this. Rahul Gandhi is doing a good job taking out a yatra, trying to break out from his image, trying to get Congress breaker out of image. But as a politician, he doesn't go to the places where there are elections. As a politician, he passes one message. His team across India passes something different. He talks of love and his leader talks about murdering Mr. Modi. He talks about love and somebody talks about, then he goes and meets the person who slaughtered a calf in Kerala. So what is the central message? After all the effort, and also know that in many places getting good response, good for him, good for Congress. I want Congress to survive.
But do you think, Mr. Sharda, why has there been such a strong BJP reaction to Mr. Raghuram Rajan in particular?
Mr.
Is
BJP
it because his words
BJP
on the economy, on majoritarianism in the past have actually stung?
I clearly said, first of all, it's BJP person is sitting here responding. I am responding as an author, as an analyst.
I'm asking you as an observer. Why do you think that they reacted?
Yes, I am saying Mr. Raghuram Rajan, biased view against this government is very well known. Did he fight for poor people when he passed a law after Congress had lost the election in a gold bill, which resulted in huge drain of gold with many of the pet people who are run away from India today? Did he not sign that particular law as an RBI governor? Did it suit him? So let us, forget about all this. And there is Prashant Bhushan, who always has petition for terrorists, for Maafinama for terrorists.
I don't think that's fair, Mr. Sharda. Let's not cast aspersions. Let's not cast aspersions on people like that. Let's not do that.
Well, I have quoted, madam, where I have cast aspersions on whom? Tell me.
Let's not do that.
No, just a moment. Nidhi, you have been very reasonable.
Mr. Manickam Tagore, let me bring you here as a member of Parliament and as a senior Congress leader. How do you look at the BJP's criticism of this? It has raised a question about whether senior economists and economists in general should be taking political sides. And to be fair, Mr. Rajan joining the Bharat Jodo Yatra, I mean, it's a very stark example before us. There are other economists who have taken political positions on every side of the political divide. But on this, what would you say, Mr. Tagore?
Thank you. It has been 98 days till the Yatra started from Kanyakumari, in September 7th when it started. September 8th itself, the BJP friends have started with this t-shirt. Let us not forget that BJP on every day has been finding fault with some kind of issues. With the Yatra, it may be the t-shirt, it may be his jeans, it may be his footwear, whatever you take it, they had been finding some kind of this thing. And it's good that to hear about Pathania ji that he is completely speaking not the language of Amit Malviya, who has been assigned the duty to find fault with Mr. Gandhi's Padayatra for the past 98 days. 98 days and 42 districts were crossed, and Congress party it's not a platform for only Congress party, and the Bharat Jodo Yatra from the first half will have the civil society part into it, and whomever wants to join there, they can all part of it. Second half only we have the political leadership political workers being part of that thing, the Yatra. For the 98 days it has been happening this format only. Many eminent people as leaders across the society has joined Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who had clear-cut differences with Congress parties in the past also, like Mr. Prashant Bhushan, Admiral Ramdas, Medha Patkar, even Tushar Gandhiji has always been there. They're all in many states they have been working, as Mr. Yogendra Yadav has been saying about many of the activists who had been different field, has different views. They are not congressmen, they are having a different view, but they all believe that India needs to be united and India needs, our real issues are different and we need to stand together. And there is a man who is walking for the past 98 days. He has covered around 2,600
let me ask
kilometers.
Mr. Yogendra Yadav then, this question that's being raised about partisanship. As a former RBI governor, is it wise to take a political position? Because when you can't say that the Bharat Jodo Yatra is apolitical, right? Mr. Yadav, I'm sure you wouldn't say that either. So there is a clear stand that he's taking politically by joining it.
Of course, it is not political. And as a citizen of India, please do remember, he may be working in a university abroad, but he is a citizen of India. And every citizen of India should take a stand on what is happening in this country. To the best of my knowledge, Mr. Raghuram Rajan has not supported the Congress party. He is not endorsing Rahul Gandhi. All he is saying, and that's exactly what applies to people like me, about 200 organizations of this country, civil society organizations, movement groups have said, we are supporting this yatra. We are not supporting Congress party. We are not supporting anyone for prime ministerial thing, but we are supporting this yatra because in today's condition in this country, a stand has to be taken. When there is so much of politics of hatred in this country, every citizen should take a stand. And I'm very, very happy that Mr. Raghuram Rajan has spoken like a citizen. He has not spoken like a politician. And to my mind, since you want to know why is it that BJP is so rattled, I have a hypothesis, which I'm sure my BJP and RSS colleagues might wish to contradict. The hypothesis is this, that despite all their efforts, BJP government has not been able to attract a single economist of repute. They had one, Mr. Arvind Subramanian, who quietly and dignifiedly left the job. They simply cannot get anyone of some stature to join their government. And this is the envy which is resulting into a situation of this kind. Name me one good economist that you have who's respected internationally. Please name one economist.
Before I take that to Mr. Pathania, I have to say, Mr. Yadav, when he's marching with Rahul Gandhi, there is a certain endorsement of Rahul Gandhi's politics as well, which he's entitled to as a citizen. But Mr. Pathania, is it BJP's envy?
Nidhi, the institution of RBI governor is himself an institution, and the one who has adornified the glorious, we could say the highest post which stands on a very, very high pedestal in the Indian scheme of the things. And once he indulges in very, very cheap criticism of the Sarkar. There is nothing, we don't mind saying anything against the Bharatiya Janata Party, its policies, its program, but this is very cheap. An RBI governor comes out and in the public and says,
what is the cheap thing, sir?
I'm coming.
What is the cheap remark? I forgot. Please
I
tell
am
me.
coming, sir. An RBI governor is spilling the beans that he was not consulted on demonetization. How it could be possible? And once again he said that demonetization was a bad step. He then once again speaks bad about that bringing in data 46 tons of gold and all that. He indulges in a very unfounded, unjustified and very unspoken allegation against the government.
Mr. Pathania, you may not agree with his criticism, but many experts believe that demonetization was a bad idea. He was one of them. That is his view. I don't know if that makes it cheap. I have to leave it at there, but let's not forget, when you talk about the institution of the RBI governor, we've had former army chiefs in this country joining the BJP and becoming ministers. We've had a former Chief Justice of India becoming a member of the Rajya Sabha after demitting office. So as far as institutions are concerned, I think enough has been said. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us. For several days now, you must have seen passengers on social media putting up pictures of chaos at Delhi's T3 airport, at the Indira Gandhi International Airport, complaining of long lines, congestion, etc. And today there has been some easing of that congestion after the Civil Aviation Minister stepped in himself. He went to inspect things at the airport a few days ago, and the government announced a series of measures it was putting in place to try and ease that chaos. So some easing has taken place, but there is still a long way to go. There are complaints also today from Bangalore's International Airport of long lines at Immigration and Security as well. And joining us now to talk about this is the Civil Aviation Minister, Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia. Mr. Scindia, thank you very much for speaking to us today. I just wanted to begin by asking you that when you went for this inspection, what really struck you as the primary reasons why this congestion was happening? Because otherwise, it really hasn't been a problem traveling in Indian airports until recently.
So first of all, thank you for having me, Nidhi. Let me say this to you and through you to our viewers as well, that the civil aviation sector in India has experienced a V-shaped recovery from a status of having our planes just sitting on the ground on the tarmac to today all being in the air. From a period of pre-COVID where we had a high of roughly about 4.1 passengers per day. This week, we have breached that number. We had 4.28 lakh passengers per day. We've surpassed 4 lakhs for 3 or 4 days in a row in this past week. And that indeed is a very heartening sign for the sector. But having said that, it brings with it issues of logistics, issues of operations. In between the value chain of passengers who are desirous of travel, as well as airlines who are very eager to provide that service, sits the airport. The airport's responsibility to ensure that it provides a seamless, efficient process by which the customers can get to the aircraft and complete their journey. Now, obviously, no one had anticipated the level of travel this festive season as has been played out. That being said, I very firmly believe that it is the airport operator's responsibility to provide that service, which is why on the 7th of this month, I held a meeting in the ministry with all the airport operators, very clearly articulating the pain points, and we tried to evolve some solutions. Now, let me give you an example of that. Delhi Airport has a total of 14 gates for passengers and 2 gates for crew and our specially abled. We insisted that by the 12th of December, that must increase to 16 gates for passengers and 2 gates maintained for our crew and specially abled. I'm glad to report to you that on the 12th of December, when I went for my inspection, and that's one of the reasons I went for my inspection, is to see the execution of what we had committed to, that step had been taken. The second area and the most important area of the bottleneck in the critical path of passengers passing through the airport is the security check. And there the problem is really not Nidhi or CISS staff. The problem is that we do not have enough lines for security check. The number of lines that we had were 11 for passengers and 3 for crew and specially abled. We mandated on the meeting on the 7th that by the time I come on the 12th for a surprise visit, which was not expected, we must grow that number to 16 in total for both passengers as well as crew. On the 12th when I went, we had 16 lines in place. So we had an increase of almost close to about 20% in our capacity of security check-in. The third area and then we had a meeting for 3 hours at the airport. And we identified the following steps that need to be executed on a very strict schedule and timeline. The first step that I said is we need to have usherers outside the entrance gate. So that if Nidhi Razdan is traveling and gate number 4 is totally clogged, the usherer should be able to tell Nidhi Razdan, kindly go to gate number 9 because that is clear. How will the usherer be able to do that? I said set up a command and control center within the airport that monitors through video feed the crowd at every gate so that the usherer can be told by walkie-talkie from the command and control center where they should push the passengers to enable free passage. That I'm glad to report to you has been in place from the 12th of December night, the day I mandated it to happen. The second step that I said must take place is that above every gate, you must have a digital TV screen that shows the queuing capacity and the queuing waiting time for every gate. So if I'm a passenger, that's right. So if I'm a passenger and I go to gate number 6 and there's a 20-minute queuing time and gate number 11 has only a 2-minute queuing time, I'll immediately go to gate number 11. That has been put in place on every gate. The third point that I mandated on the 12th of December was that if you recall, there's a Naka almost 1.5 kilometers before the airport where cars slow down and there's a barrier and a security check. I said put up a huge digital screen at that Naka as well, so that if Nidhi Razdan is traveling, when she reaches the Naka, she knows which entry gate to go to. So there's a warning sign in advance as to which is the best entry gate to go to. That has been put in place as of yesterday.
Let me just ask you this. We noticed a change today because it was clear that people were getting into the airport much faster today than they have in recent days. But inside security was still an issue. You know, it was still up to 50 minutes for some people, half an hour for others. So obviously that's going to take some more time. Do you need more CISF personnel at security?
So if you allow me to finish, because I know this is going to take a little time, but I ask you to bear with me. Because it's taken us a lot of groundwork.
What will the anchor do if you speak?
I think for once, because this is a public interest issue, please let me articulate
this is your Mann Ki Baat.
that we're having in place. So what I was saying to you, the fifth initiative that we took is that this information with regard to entry gates must be put up on the Dial Twitter network as well as every airline. And if you've noticed, that has been done as well. We now move to the security check-in areas, which is the security check areas, which is the second bottleneck. As I mentioned to you, we have only had 11 plus 2 in place, which was augmented to 16 on the 12th of December. I had went and inspected the areas myself, and there were 2 rows of 5 and 5 security lines with a huge barrier in between. I said, why don't we remove this barrier and create an extra line? And we had mandated that by today, which is by the 14th, that 17th security line should be created. And I'm glad to report to your viewers that the 17th security line has been created. So we've gone from 11 plus 2 to 17 today. My target is that by the end of this month, we should move to a number of 20 security lines at the Delhi airport. The next step that we had also looked at was with regard to CISF. And I'm glad to report to you that there is no shortage of CISF personnel manning security lines or even the augmented capacity. The DG of CISF was with me in that 3-hour meeting. We very fairly and squarely asked the Dial management, do you have a shortage of CISF staff? The clear answer was no, they are supporting us in every move we make. Therefore, the CISF issue is no longer an issue. The last point I want to make to you is that we also must look at the supply side. The fact is that if you look at it from an operations perspective, you cannot have a large number of landings and takeoff, which is beyond your capability of throughput of the airport. And that's the position that Dial is in today. We have close to almost 10% more than what the airport can feed. So what I have said after discussion is lower the landings and takeoffs in peak hours, which is 0500 to 0900, and move those landings and takeoffs to either non-peak hours during the day in T3 or move them to peak hours in T1 and T2. That will also ameliorate the situation in terms of the congestion and the clogging. That is supposed to happen by the end of this week or early next week, because the airlines also have to be brought on board. I don't want to inconvenience our passengers too much as well. So a little bit of blending will have to take place, which we are working on.
Right.
The
No,
final
I
point I want to make
it's quite appreciated that, you know, all these steps have been taken and that you responded to people on social media. You took note of the concerns that they flagged and intervened here. But today, Mr. Scindia, passengers are complaining at Bangalore airport about similar congestion at immigration as well as security lines there. So if you had allowed me, I would have covered that point as well, but I'm glad you asked the question. But I have to ask you something.
I'm glad you asked the question. So I want to tell you that we have a 11-point template, which I'm monitoring myself on a twice a day basis in terms of what needs to be done in Delhi. The similar template has been created for Mumbai and for Bangalore. Please understand that Mumbai also has reached a new high. The last high in Mumbai was in 2017, which was roughly about 75 to 80,000 passengers per day. Yesterday, Mumbai touched 1.1 lakh passengers. The problem in Mumbai and in Bangalore is nowhere close to the problem in Delhi, but we need to make sure we tell all of these airports to make sure that the traveling experience for our customers is not as painful as it has been for the last 4 or 5 days. I understand the anxiety and the exasperation that customers have gone through. I do also understand that it is the job of the airports to provide a seamless process. We are coming down extremely diligently with regard to every airport, and we will ensure that we put in place measures for the short and medium term as well as long term. By the end of this year or next year, we propose to increase
the fact that the
security lines in Delhi airport to 23. And I have also said that the execution of T1, which will increase our capacity and resolve our problems in Delhi, which is slated, I think, for December or Jan of 23-24. We need to move up to November or so prior to the holiday season so that this congestion does not happen next year in Delhi.
So how long do you expect this congestion, to last in Delhi in particular? So are we looking at January, mid-January sometime?
So I think it's a factor of both increasing travelers as well as increasing landing and takeoff. So therefore, when we're looking at ameliorating the whole value chain, which is making sure we increase the capacity of entry and security and check-in, all 3 points at the airport, we lower the number of takeoffs and landings in peak hours, I think we will be able to flatten out volatility that Delhi airport is experiencing currently. We have very high crests in peak hours 0500 to 0900, and then we have a
flat. Do you have a deadline in mind by when this can happen?
Curve. We need to flatten out that volatility, which is what we're intending to do in the next 7 to 10 days.
7 to 10 days. Okay, Mr. Scindia, one final question now that we have you here. There was a report today in the Times of India, that says that the International Civil Aviation Organization has clarified that it did not conduct any audit of SpiceJet, whereas the airline says that the organization did audit its safety recently. It's a bit concerning, this report. Anything you can tell us about this?
Well, let me tell you very clearly, first of all, the good news is that India was in the last audit of ICAO at the 102nd position, which was done in 2018. We have moved today in 2022 to the 48th position. So we are amongst the most developed countries of the world today in terms of safety and security within our aviation network as mandated and as certified by the International Civil Aviation Organization. Across all parameters, there are a total of 8 parameters across which ICAO judges you. Across all parameters, we have seen an increase. save 2 areas which were not audited. Across 6, we have seen an increase, and our total score has gone from roughly a low score of 69 to almost 86 or 87%. So that's great news with regard to civil aviation in India in terms of our systems and processes, which we have tried to improve over the last 4 years. As far as this particular report is concerned, let me repeat that ICAO does not audit, investigate, certify any airline. ICAO only certifies, investigates and audits civil aviation sectors in a particular country. In our case, DGCA, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation.
So is SpiceJet being asked for an explanation?
As far as that report is concerned, whatever needs to be done will be done. But let me clarify for you and your viewers that this certification and audit is meant only for DGCA and not for any airline.
Because SpiceJet made this as a public declaration. Therefore, will the airline be summoned to explain?
I have answered the question very fairly and squarely.
All right, Mr. Scindia, thank you for your time today and for joining us on the airport chaos in particular. That is something that concerns all travelers in this country. Let's hope that things do get better in the next 7 to 10 days, which is what you have set out as a target. Thank you.